Hi, folks, and welcome. My name's Steve Crabb,
Hi, I'm Tina Taylor.
and we are NLP Master Trainers. And I'm guessing you've looked at the Facebook adverts that we put out, and you're curious about what's this all about. So we're going to just have a conversation about NLP, what it can do for you, what it's about, and hopefully give you a little bit more of an insight into why you can come along to our training and why this crazy 2020 has been a bit crazy, hasn't it, Tina?
It's just completely bonkers. I mean, it's turned so many people's lives upside down, and people that normally think of themselves as being level-headed and in control are suddenly going, "Oh God, what am I going to do?"
Yeah, it's been a weird one, cranky to say the least. And that's one of the reasons why we put this together, just to give people a bit of hope and some opportunities to kind of just sort of take a deep breath and get in control of things. Oh.
Yeah, yeah.
So why don't we just start by just talking a little bit about how we got into NLP and what NLP is about.
Okay.
When did you start?
Well, I was working in an investment bank in the City of London, and one of my colleagues disappeared for 7 days to do this thing called NLP. I had no idea what it was. She had no idea what it was. I was very reluctant to go and do a course, especially one of 7 days, because no one was going to cover when I'm away. Like a lot of people nowadays, you do your job, and when you're on holiday, you come back and you have to catch up. And I was thinking, I'm not going anywhere. When she came back, she looked amazing.
Mm.
She was chilled, relaxed, and she just slotted into her day. Nothing fazed her. She wasn't getting stressed. And, she was just so happy and focused. Whereas normally she'd be frazzled. And I said, "How are you doing that?" And she laughed and went, "You should have done that course."
Oh, that's pretty cool. So she didn't come back and try and convert you.
No, no, no. She just slotted into her day. And her coping mechanism was phenomenal. I mean, she had issues with her boyfriend that would have drove her nuts that didn't face her. She just seemed in control of everything. And I thought, I want what she's having.
Mm. Mm.
And then I went on the next course that was available. So what about you?
And when was that? That was 20
Oh,
odd years ago?
oh
Should I
God.
say that?
You say that?
Two
Yeah,
decades ago.
it was more than 2 decades ago.
So
Yeah.
at the end of the last century. I love that phrase. Yeah, so
Oh,
it was in the last century.
oh God, if I wasn't feeling old a little while ago, I definitely feel old now.
Well, we've both been in the business now. We've both of us for 2 decades plus. And
Yeah.
yeah, how did I get into it? Actually, mine was a bit by mistake. Actually, I was watching TV, watching Clive Anderson Talks Back. Do you remember Clive? We used to interview
I
some
do
really
used to
cool
love
people.
Anderson. Yeah.
Yeah, well, one of my favourites was Robin Williams. Where he just lost complete control, and it was one just after that with Tony Robbins, and he was interviewing Tony, and I remember coming away thinking, I want some of that confidence that guy's got, because I was so stressed, anxious, and I was way too heavy and drinking way too much. Life was out of control. And I thought, I've read his books, actually, two of his books. Was it Awaken the Giant Within and Unlimited Power? And I remember going and getting the books, opening them up, thinking, well, I've read the books, but I haven't done any of the techniques. And so I remember sitting there and doing one of the techniques, a very simple disassociation technique. You think of something and you imagine stepping out of it and pushing it away. And suddenly all the emotions in my body changed. And I thought, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
In fact, it was one of the big lessons for me, is the difference between knowing about something and actually doing it.
Yeah. And it's funny you should say that. Last weekend, when I was training, one of the students was very disassociated from the technique that we were teaching. And she just kept saying, "I don't get it. I don't understand. I don't get it." And when I ran her through it and I had her actually associate into the technique, she went, "Oh, whoa, now I get it."
Yeah. So it's a world of difference between knowing about something and actually doing it. And
Yeah.
that's one of the things I love about NLP. It's so experiential, and we can train it online in the 2D world, because we know that, because
Yeah.
both you and I have been doing trainings for quite a while, working with people
Yeah. Since
from
the last
around.
century, in fact.
Yeah. But when you get the chance to be in a room and with people, and give them the experience of it, I think that's so much better. You know, you
It
get a
is,
chance to
yeah.
calibrate and work out what they're doing, make little changes.
I love looking at their faces when, you know, when they get it, they get that aha moment. That just makes my day.
I love it when they go, I just don't want to leave. I feel so relaxed. I go, yeah, okay. So, I mean, what we're doing here is we want to give people the opportunity to experience NLP. You know, it made a profound difference to my life, made a huge difference to your life. And we've been working now with each other for probably over 15 years, haven't we?
We have,
You
yeah.
know, we've seen thousands and thousands of people change their lives. And were you skeptical when you first got into NLP? Because I'm sure some people listen to this are going to be,
Yeah.
yeah, I've heard this stuff before. I don't believe it. Were you
Yeah.
skeptical?
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, which is why I didn't want to do the course in the first place.
Mm.
And then my colleague went, and even that I remember that first day sitting in the room, and then I mean, I know we did the same training. So Paul McKenna and Michael Breen came on, and I was like, oh look, you know, there's the guy from the telly, and I don't know who the other guy is, but yeah, and it was entertaining. You know, I laughed, I smiled.
Mm.
And then Dr. Badler came on after the teas and coffees, and I remember sitting there thinking, what? And I was so confused. And then he was doing some stuff from the stage, but at that point, I wasn't actually doing it. I was just watching him and listening to it.
Mm.
So at the end of that day, I was still a bit confused. And then on the next day, he actually chose me to do an exercise. And then there was like no excuses. I had to actually go through what he was doing. And my brain went, oh, now I get it. Now I know what I need to do. And like, it's different from any other training because you don't just write about it and listen to it. You do it, you experience it, and you feel it.
We haven't talked about what it is. So how about for those people that they don't even know what NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, we haven't even used that phrase yet. How would you describe it? You know, people must ask you, you know, what is it that you do and what is NLP? How would you describe it?
Well, to me, it's like someone's given me the handbook for my brain.
Mm.
Only, unlike the handbooks for how to run your computer or your cooker or your TV, it's really easy. And it's when you get it, it's like your brain goes, but I didn't I know that? And you go, how didn't I know about this before? Because I felt like I've been cheated, that I have this machine in my head that nobody taught me how to use. And now I have processes that I know, if I want this, I do this. You know, if I don't want this, I do this. So I have actual physical things I can do inside my brain with my body that gives me complete control over how I'm feeling and what I do.
I must admit, I had a similar sort of process when my first training with Richard. I was sitting there thinking, I don't get this. It was fascinating. It was funny.
Yeah.
And, but I remember going away thinking, I found something and I'm not sure what I found, but I had a real sense I found something that was going to be really important in my life. And I got to the end of the first training. I remember going home with 2 carry bags full of books and videos,
Yeah.
£375. I can still remember that I spent. Yeah. And I found myself at 4 o'clock in the morning watching videos and suddenly realized I've got to be up in another 2 hours to go back into the training. It
Yeah.
was literally finding this whole wealth, like a library of information I didn't even know existed.
I remember that they had some books that I bought at the seminar, but somebody there said, oh, and there are all these other books that Richard had written. And I went to Foyles because the training was by the British Museum. And I don't even know if Foyles still exists. At that point, it was the biggest bookshop in London, I think in the UK. I went to Foyles and I had a similar experience. I had this huge bag of books. I bought everything I could find that Richard had contributed to and written. And I just went home and I didn't just read them, I devoured them.
So you became an obsessive compulsive.
Yeah.
Yeah, same as me.
Yeah.
Obsessively compulsive about suddenly starting to run my own brain,
Mm,
manage my emotions, manage my behaviors, and the results in my life completely changed.
yeah.
It was
Yeah.
fantastic. Yeah, I remember that phase, and it's, by the way, it's never stopped for me. I'm sure it hasn't for you. The
No,
curiosity, we never stop learning.
no. And I still devour books. Only whereas pre my NLP training, if there were like books with exercises in, I'd think, oh yeah, and I'd skip over the exercise and get to the text because the magic was in the text. But now I know the magic is actually in the exercise. So now
Mm.
I stop and I run through the exercise and I do it in my mind and then outside with other people.
Yeah. So I have a similar approach to you. I think of it as the user manual for the brain and go, okay, so maybe I want a bit more resilience. Let's turn to the resilience.
Yeah.
How do I do resilience? In fact, how does somebody else who's a very resilient person, how do they do that? It's
Yes.
like turn into the page and going, oh, that's their recipe for what they do. Let me give that a go. The bit that really got me hooked on NLP was the hypnosis bit,
Oh
the
yeah.
liar stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that it's an approach where we tap into this wisdom and we take the information, we take the techniques, it's
Yeah.
like we embody it and it happens naturally and effortlessly. So for those of you that are curious about NLP, you can also going to be learning some hypnosis as well, how
Oh,
to
I
literally
love.
run
Yeah.
your own brain. Self-hypnosis is all self-hypnosis. So who will this event be for? Who do you think will be perfect for coming along to see it and to learn?
I mean, this is the interesting thing because I've had some people say to me, "Well, NLP is about therapy, isn't it?"
Mm,
And of course, it does. If you're a therapist, if you're a hypnotherapist, if you're a coach, a counselor, any kind of therapy that you're into, there will be elements within NLP that will enable you to just run with it and improve your success rate and build your business. And it works in business, talking about business. I mean, you know that. I mean, you've got
mm.
all your experience and expertise coaching business people as well. Business people can benefit from learning how to run their own brain.
Yeah, absolutely. I look at it this way. So if we're going to develop ourselves professionally,
Yeah,
we have to go there first and develop ourselves personally.
you do.
And you go there first, you be the change you want to see, and it helps you then to see how others are operating. And then you can guide them, assuming you've been given permission to do so. But what tends to happen is what you experienced with your friend. She came back and you noticed the changes, and then you became curious and wanted to know more
Yeah,
about it. Yeah.
yeah,
So we don't separate. I don't separate personal from professional. We might do some business coaching, but we end up looking at how people are thinking, their beliefs, their values, what's important to them. Whether they're able to manage their emotions, and then we can look at other things such as sales and marketing and persuasion and influence, because they all fit under the category of
same umbrella.
NLP.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all the same umbrella. And when I initially went to do my NLP training, it was to use in a business context. And then my brain just thought, what else can I do with
Yeah.
this?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
What else is there?
yeah, what
Who
else
else
is
can I
there?
play with? Yeah.
What can I do now? And then I wanted to help people get rid of fears and phobias, and I wanted to install new ways of working and strategies in people. Um, and it just flew. And then suddenly, I wasn't primarily doing it for business. I was coaching people in their lives and therapeutically, and it just fascinates me what
Mm.
people do with their brain.
Because it's been a crazy, uncertain time, what do you think is going to be one of the main benefits that people are going to get from coming along to this particular training? And we'll go into the details of what the training involves in a minute. What do you think people can expect?
Well, I've been getting a lot of people contact me because they have issues with anxiety. They're fearful of the future. Business people think, this is the end. I'm going to go bankrupt. Nothing's going to work. And they get stuck in this kind of tunnel vision and they can't see a way out, round, over, through what's going on. And I mean, we know that with the elements that you learn on an NLP training, you can take a step back from all of that and you can review what's happening. You can think about how you're responding, what makes you respond in that way, what else can you do? And suddenly the world opens up and you can begin to redesign what you're going to do. And this is a great time for people to acquire that flexibility, to be able to actually move their businesses somewhere else, to take some time to think about their life, what they want, where they're going, and how they can actually achieve it. I mean, somebody said to me the other day, one of my clients said to me the other day, that she's now beginning to think that this whole situation right now has opened up her future to something that she never imagined possible. But now her business is just expanding in a whole new way. And she thinks it's phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people went into shutdown. They did the
Yeah.
freeze of fight or flight when lockdown happened, which is understandable. You know, when change happens, when people are uncertain of the future, it's a natural reaction for most people, a reaction to freeze. But a lot of people that we know, because of the NLP experience they have, they chose to just slow down, to keep calm, and then they chose their responses. So, you know, if you're considering coming along for the practitioner training, if there was one thing I suggest that you look to get from this, which is just to be able to be the calm, still center, while all around you might be crazy. You know, one of the things that will happen is nothing's changed out there, but everything will seem different because you will have more control over how you think, how you feel, and you're no longer reacting to the outside world. I just remember when I first got into NLP, that the things that I used to worry about, I could still think about them, but I was no longer worrying. That was a life changer for me.
Yeah.
Completely changed. You know, it means I didn't have to go down the bar and have a drink. It was my own bar, so it was very cheap. You know, which made it even worse, yeah. or have a late night snack. I didn't need to use external to change internal. I just became more empowered. And then when it comes to business, when you're calm and you're centered, you get the chance to step back and see the opportunities that are around us. So, you know, absolutely right. I think flexibility for me is what NLP gives us, the ability to change our perception and, you know, not just see things in one rigid way.
You've just reminded me, when I came back from the NLP practitioner training, because I'd spent so many years working in the city for blue chip companies, human resources, rushing around, getting into work crazy early in the morning, doing like 10, 11, 12-hour days, coming home. And when I got back from that course, I think it was about day 4 when I came home, Steve, that's not this Steve, that's my husband, Steve.
You're surrounded by Steves, aren't you?
I'm surrounded by, I collect Steve.
You collect Steves, yeah.
People to have, yeah, Steve. He said that he got his wife back because everything about me changed.
And I had a similar experience with my ex now, with Debbie, and she said, you seem like the person that I first met without all the hang-ups and all the baggage that she probably didn't know she was buying into. Yeah.
So a side effect of me learning NLP for business is I improved my relationship.
Yeah. Okay. So people can't expect too much, can they, from this weekend?
No.
Or from this week's training? Yeah. Well, I think one of the things I always say to people when they come along to any trainings is, you don't need to believe in anything. Just come along with an open mind and experience. Be willing to play because, you know, we both make sure that it's fun. We enjoy ourselves.
Yeah. We do.
And that's how we learn. People learn better when they're relaxed and when they're having fun. And I just think it's important to make a point because we've got to address the elephant in the room, haven't we? You know, the COVID thing that's going on around us. You know, this event will be socially distanced. You know, there is a limit to the number of people that we can have in the room. We are very much aware that we have to take precautions and provide a safe space for everyone. So the group size will be limited in this particular instance, but it still means we can get in that space and really play and experiment and explore.
Yeah. There'll be everything they need. I mean, there'll be hand sanitizer will be at the venue. They'll need to wear a mask when they're wandering around the campus of the university where we're having the course. Inside the room, masks are optional at the moment, unless we're going to be doing demonstrations and exercises, in which case I've got some lovely visors that we can wear. so that we can see facial expressions and we can calibrate what's going on and do it in a safe environment.
Yeah, great. So let's just summarize about what's when the event is. So we're going to be at Regent's University in London.
Yeah.
It's held over 5 weekends, 3 of which are live. So Saturday and Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And they are held every other Saturday. And then in between, we have 2 half days where we're doing virtual Zoom training.
Yeah.
And do you want to talk a little bit about our special guest trainer? I'm really excited that she's come on board and going to do this for us.
Oh, yes, me too. So Kathleen Laval is a master trainer of NLP. Her and her husband, John Laval, they run the Society of NLP, and they co-train with Dr. Bandler around the world. Kathleen is amazing at teaching the linguistics part of NLP. And John Laval says that linguistics is our middle name. Now, when you get really mastery of the linguistics of NLP, you can do any of the techniques that we teach you linguistically. It's an amazing thing. I know right now you're probably thinking, what on earth is she talking about? It will make sense. So Kathleen is this amazing trainer. I was talking to her. She's a good friend of mine, and she's in New York at the moment. And I suddenly thought, wow, she could come and do one of the webinars for us and teach the linguistics side of NLP. And she's agreed. So she's going to be with us on that first live webinar on that Saturday. So we'll have an hour of Steve and I talking to you, answering questions, setting things up so that she can come in and just fly with you. And she's going to do, I'm going to say 3 hours, but I know if you have questions, she will be there longer. So it's going to be a great experience for you. And that way, we are 100% certain that you will have linguistics down.
And I'm personally really looking forward to that, because, when you get into NLP, you realize NLP is not a thing. It's an attitude. It's an attitude of curiosity. We never stop learning. And to have the opportunity to learn again from Kathleen, I'm really looking forward to that. So let's kind of just wrap this up then.
Yeah.
And look, if you've been listening to this and you've got this far, you're curious enough. All you have to do is just somewhere around here, there is a button. Just get yourself on board.
Press the button. Press the button.
I guarantee you this, it will be one of the best decisions you will have ever made in your life. I know that's a big claim. But for me, if I look back, my life would not be the same as it is now if I hadn't have made the choice to get interested and go along to my first NLP training.
Yeah. So wherever that button is, press it, go and take the next step and come play with us. You'll have fun, we guarantee it. You will learn a huge amount of information, which will enable you to have complete control over your brain, your life. I mean, I've used this stuff with my daughter, with my grandchildren, and it's just amazing. You'll be able to use it everywhere, and I mean everywhere.
Yeah, and you don't need to believe us. Just come along and find out for yourself.
Come and play.
Yeah. So we'll see you soon.
We will.
Right. Bye. Take care.